community. This is Brian from Brian's Vinyl Records, and today I want to share with you my Dolly Parton vinyl collection. So Dolly Parton, I got a lot of Dolly Parton, and it's interesting because I never grew up with Dolly Parton. I never really listened to Dolly Parton. The only reason I have all this Dolly Parton is because I found a very good deal on a Dolly Parton album on a website and decided to pick it up and really enjoyed it. So I decided to start looking for other Dolly albums, and it just became an obsession over time that I wanted to collect as many or all of the Dolly Parton vinyl records as I could. And I'm almost there. I almost have them all. What I have left, unfortunately, is stuff that is either hard to find or super expensive to find. And I'm mostly talking about studio albums. She has a ton of greatest hits records that are not included in this video, and I don't plan to collect all of those just because most of them are all the same songs anyway, so no real need to do that. So let's get started. The first two I'm going to show you are two albums I picked up because they were really cheap, and they're, you know, Dolly Parton and Porter Wagoner stuff. I don't have a lot of Dolly and Porter. In fact, these are the only two Dolly and Porter I have. I don't know that I'll really collect any more Dolly and Porter unless the price is right and I see it there. I might just leave the rest be. I believe there are about 7 or so Dolly and Porter albums that they did together before she split off and did her own thing. The first one I have is this one here. This is Love and Music from Dolly and Porter. This is from 1973, released on the Orange RCA Victor label. So that's that one. And the only other one I have is Dolly and Porter. This was released in 1980 and made up of a bunch of previously unreleased studio takes that they did in their duet years that never made it to albums. So those are the only two Dolly and Porter albums I do have. The rest we'll now get into is Dolly albums herself. This first one I want to show you is a dual album. So we have Hello, I'm Dolly, which is her very first album, and we have As Long As I Love, which is a compilation album of earlier tunes from Dolly Parton. So this album, Hello, I'm Dolly, very expensive to find on vinyl, very difficult to find on vinyl. So I saw this pop up and I decided to go ahead and grab it because it was the cheapest way I was probably going to be able to find this album on vinyl. So really, I have this not because I wanted this, but just because I wanted this part here. Her very first album, Hello, I Am Dolly, and that's what I have here. So, pretty cool. This one is on the Monument Records label. Comes on this Orange Monument Records label. They were really the people who had most of her early stuff, and so as we go through some of these compilation stuff, you'll see that they did a lot of compilations of her early material, and I'll show you some of those before she got picked up by RCA Records. Next up, I have her second album. This is Just Because I'm a Woman. This was released in 1968. So Dolly's second solo album. This one is on the RCA Victor. It's got the black RCA Victor with the dog and photograph there. Pretty cool. So this is this is Just Because I'm a Woman, Dolly Parton's second album. Next up, I have In the Good Old Days, When Times Were Bad. This is Dolly's third album. This was released in 1969, also on the Orange RCA Victor label, and I believe this is no, this one is not the Dynaflex. This is just the Orange label here. So that one. Next up, we have My Blue Ridge Mountain Boy. This one was hard to find. Was super excited when I did find it. Some of these are very difficult to get for the earlier 60s and 70s albums, and this was one of them, but super excited to have it. This is also on the Orange RCA Victor label. Pretty good stuff. All right, next up we move into the 70s. This is Dolly Parton's Fairest of Them All album, also on the Orange RCA Victor label. And this was 1970, released in 1970. All right, here's the actual version of As Long As I Love from Dolly. So this is part 2 of that dual album that I showed you, the first Dolly album. This is the actual record itself. I got this one before I got the dual album, otherwise I probably wouldn't have bought this one. But this was released on Monument, as you can see here. Again, this is a compilation of some of her earlier material. All right, next up, The Golden Streets of Glory. This is a gospel album that Dolly put out. This was released in 1971. This is on the RCA Victor Orange label as well. Pretty good stuff if you're into gospel music. It's always nice to hear Dolly singing that. She's a very devout Christian, and so it's pretty cool that she used her album to put that out. Next up, from 1971 as well, this is Joshua. This one was a little hard to find as well. Found it on an online Facebook sale and jumped on it right away. This is also on our RCA Victor Orange label. Nice autograph by the person who previously had owned it. So thank you to them for that. Next up we have Coat of Many Colors. This is also on the RCA Victor, and this is on the Dynaflex. So if you know anything about Dynaflex, it's rather interesting. The albums are very bendy and wobbly. They're really flexible albums. So there's a lot of them that happened in the 70s, and I think it kind of phased out, but a lot of my Dolly albums are on that Dynaflex, including this one. Coat of Many Colors was one of her biggest hits that she had from the 70s. Really good album, really good song. Next up we have Dolly Parton's Touch Your Woman. Again, this one's on the Dynaflex RCA Orange label. This is a good one too. This one was difficult to find. Again, Facebook Live Auction came to the rescue, and I was able to pick it up for a very good price. This one is 1972. Up next is Just the Way I Am. Again, this is another compilation of Dolly's early material. This one is a Pickwick compilation. So there you go, Pickwick. So very cool cover. I like this. The green contrasts very well with Dolly. I thought this was always cool, so I picked this one up. Up next, My Tennessee Mountain Home from Dolly Parton. This is cool. It's got the Best Buy series label on the top there. This is for an a black RCA label on there, RCA Victor. This one I saw once a while back at my local record store, and it was priced at like $25 or something like that. And I thought that was kind of ridiculous for a Dolly album until I got home and realized that that was actually a really good price for this album at the time, and went back and it was gone, of course. Dolly Parton albums up here in Minnesota, they go really fast, especially the hard to find ones. Well, they got another one in about a year later, and I was able to pick this up just for 30 bucks, I think it was, so I had to pay more at the time, but happy to have it in my collection. This is a really good album from her. Next up we have from 1973 as well. That last one was 73. This one is Dolly Parton's Bubbling Over. This is on the Dynaflex Orange RCA label. Yep, pretty cool. I thought that was a pretty interesting cover concept there, but very good. And next up we have Jolene. This is the reissue copy that they put it on the RCA Victor label, the orange label like it used to be, and this is a reissue that RCA put out, and it sounds absolutely fantastic. They did a great job with this. There's also an MOV pressing of this, I believe. That was a reissue as well. This came out in 1974. Jolene, huge hit for Dolly Parton, and this is such a great album. Up next, Love is Like a Butterfly. This is also from 1974. This is on the orange Dynaflex RCA label. This one I got at my local record store. Was pretty excited when I found it there. One I didn't see very often at all. So that was really cool. Next up we have from 1975, The Bargain Store from Dolly Parton here. This is also on the orange RCA label. The next one I have is interesting because if you look at the cover, it says The Seeker We Used To on the cover, but the album title is just Dolly. So you can see Dolly by Dolly Parton, and it's listed in discographies as just Dolly as well. So I thought that was rather interesting to see. The Seeker and We Used To are two of the tracks on this album. So I don't know if that was supposed to be something like a hype sticker for those two songs. Maybe those were singles at the time that she released it. But the album's actual title is Dolly by Dolly Parton. So yes, that was pretty cool. Next up we have from 1976, All I Can Do from Dolly. This is on the black RCA label. After that, from 1977, we have New Harvest First Gathering from Dolly. This is a nice gatefold cover here. Farm action there. Dolly on the back cover. All right. 1978. Oh, sorry, 1977 as well. We have Dolly Parton's one of her biggest hits ever. Here We Come, or Here You Come Again. Another really nice gatefold, just back cover. Interior is a really nice picture of Dolly there. After that, we have 1978. This is Heartbreaker. Another gatefold from Dolly. Really nice there. Good album. All right, and then the next one I have is another compilation album. This is Dolly Parton in the Beginning. Again, like I said, Monument owned those first few albums and some of the tracks she recorded, and they put them out on several different compilations. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that this album here is the first album re-released with a different title. So that's kind of interesting. Next up, we have another album. This is a covers album. This is called Great Balls of Fire from Dolly Parton, and it features a bunch of different cover songs that she did, including Help by the Beatles, and of course the title track, Great Balls of Fire. So this one is also gatefold. And this one comes on the black RCA label. Next up we have Dolly, 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 and this is the first album she released in the 80s. This is 1980. Really cool cover, I think. This one comes on black RCA label as well. One of her most famous albums and songs, Dolly Parton's 9 to 5 and Other Odd Jobs album. Black RCA label on that one as well. Next up, we have Heartbreak Express from 1982. Black RCA label. Next up, from 1983, Dolly Parton Burlap and Satin. Comes on the black RCA label as well. Next up is another, I believe, all covers album from Dolly. This is called The Great Pretender. I think everything on here is also covers. It's got the Birds Turn, Turn, Turn on it. RCA Victor label, black label. I Walk the Line, Johnny Cash. Save the Last Dance for Me. Yeah, so this is an all covers. Downtown is on here as well. Next up we have Dolly Parton's Real Love. This one came out in 1985. Black RCA. All right, the first of our super group, as we like to call those. This is Dolly Parton, Linda Ronstadt, and Emmylou Harris's Trio album. This is a great album, by the way. If you've not heard it, I highly recommend this. Just a real good showing from all three ladies. Superstars in their own right. So really cool that they were able to come together and put this together. So Trio, this one is released by Warner Brothers. That was in March of 1987. In November 1987, Dolly released her Rainbow album, and probably one of her sexiest album covers yet. This one comes on Columbia. So it looks like a label switch there for Dolly. Of course, every man likes to see the cover. Great album. Yeah. Up next, we have Another album by Emmylou Harris and group, Emmylou Harris, Linda Ronstadt, and Dolly Parton. This is Trio 2, the second release from them, their last one as a super group. Also a fantastic album, gatefold album, and this is also released. This one is looks like Asylum Records for this one, custom label there. Pretty cool. And last but not least, this one, oh, I got two more, sorry. This one is a very, very difficult one to find. I was lucky enough to know someone who is also a huge Dolly Parton fan and knows exactly which Dolly Parton albums I still need and I'm looking for. This walked into his shop. He's a record store owner, and it was still sealed from 1990. This is Dolly Parton's Eagle When She Flies. This is a super hard to find album and not a cheap album at that at all. He offered it to me for the price he had it on in the store, and I told him that it was just too much for me. I couldn't do it. A week later, he hadn't sold it, so he offered me a massive deal on this album, and I accepted and bought it, and super glad. Got it, opened it up, unsealed it, and tested it. It was flat as can be, sounded great. Super excited to have this Dolly Parton on Columbia, Eagle When She Flies from 1990. And then after that, most of the albums that are out are either not on vinyl, only on CD, until recently. So those are hard to get, and I do have a lot of them on CD because they don't have a vinyl issue right now. But I do keep an eye out. There's one album from the 80s that I am looking for. It's called White Limousine. It was released in 1989, and I just have never been able to find it, not in the States anyway. And so, yeah, I keep trying to locate it, but so far no luck. Now, there are some albums in the 90s that are available on vinyl. One of them in particular is an album called The Grass is Blue. It's a bluegrass album that she did. Very difficult to find on vinyl, super expensive if you do find one. And the other one that she has that is available on vinyl is called, what is it called? I've seen it one time for sale and I couldn't find it. Better Day. Better Day is the one that she released also on vinyl, and that one again, saw it once for sale. It was, I believe, $85 at the time. Now I don't think you can find it for less than $120 on vinyl, and most of them are even more expensive than that. So very difficult to find some of these on vinyl. I wish I could, because I'd love to finish my Dolly vinyl collection. I believe there's 3 that I need to get, and hopefully some of these other ones, these later albums that she put out, will be coming out on vinyl. But the last one that I have on vinyl, other than Christmas albums, which I didn't include in this, I do have Home for Christmas. I have her Christmas album with Kenny, and I also have her latest Christmas album that she put out, which are both really good Christmas albums. But the last one for studio albums I have is this MOV pressing of Blue Smoke from Dolly Parton, a great, great album that mixes some of her country music and her bluegrass music together. They put it out on a custom label, and it is also on a really nice, it's hard to see, but a really nice Blue Smoke vinyl. So you can kind of see that in there. It's blue with some smoky black filtered in there. So really well done pressing. It sounds absolutely fantastic, and I couldn't be happier. I got this at a deep discount, like I said, and this is what started me on my Dolly Parton craze, which has taken now 3 or 4 years and a lot of collecting of Dolly Parton albums. So there you go. That is my Dolly Parton collection in whole, other than a couple of greatest hits albums that I also have, and of course the Christmas albums that I didn't show as well. Other than that, I do have a lot of the stuff that isn't on vinyl on CD. And yeah, that's all I have for this episode. I hope you enjoyed watching my Dolly Parton collection. I am on the lookout for Better Day. I'm on the lookout for White Limousine, which is not an expensive album to get, but just not anywhere in the States and not for sale. I don't know what the deal is on that, but Better Day, White Limousine, and The Grass is Blue are three that I'd love to find on vinyl. One of these days. We'll see. Maybe Dolly will start to reissue some of those later pressings onto vinyl. We'll have to wait and see. Anyway, thanks for watching. Until next time, keep spinning vinyl, friends.